I actually have the endorsement of former Vice President Dick Cheney.
Dick Cheney and Satan. That's next.
The Sith Lord is back.
Like a demon, it rises again.
Dick Cheney, Darth Vader, Satan.
Thank you to Satan for giving me inspiration on how to play this role.
We don't need Dick Cheney.
Dick Cheney was dangerous. That Warmonger.
The only thing you got to do is just be better than Dick Cheney.
I like to see Dick Cheney exposed. He's a liar.
I actually have the endorsement of former Vice President Dick Cheney.
You were part of the Dick Cheney cult that led to hundreds of thousands of innocent Iraqis being killed because of the cult you were in.
Cheney dishonestly made up the idea they had nuclear weapons. Just lied. Why do they want these wars? What is it that they don't like somebody because they don't like the look of their face?
Irrelevant national embarrassments, Dick Cheney and Liz Cheney.
I'm old enough to remember Dick Cheney driving over to the CIA to look over their shoulders to make sure they gave him the intel that he wanted so as to justify the Iraq war.
I actually have the endorsement of former Vice President Dick Cheney.
No apologies, no regrets from former Vice President Dick Cheney for the harsh CIA interrogation techniques.
Under Dick Cheney's tutelage, we got the photographs at Abu Ghraib.
The former vice president, at one point, signing a waterboard kit.
Cheney, of course, unrepentant. You know what? Go to hell.
I want to talk about a man rotten to his very core, which is in itself a tiny black hole from which no joy or light can escape. The ancient Coptics knew this man as Unhohotek, the Dark One, the jagged-toothed forest demon who steals our children. We know him as former Vice President Dick Cheney.
I actually have the endorsement of former Vice President Dick Cheney.
What do you think of Dick Cheney? And people would say, well, I hate everything he stands for.
I am someone fundamentally opposed to the politics of Liz Cheney and her father, Dick Cheney. I literally started writing books in the first place more than a decade ago because I had so much to get off my chest about what I thought was wrong with the Cheney family approach to war and foreign policy. That first book I ever wrote is literally dedicated to him.
Dick Cheney, profoundly dangerous.
Cheney, I think, was arrested twice.
A master manipulator like Dick Cheney, willing to say anything.
And now, as the cascade of misery and death and chaos he did so much to unleash rages anew, Mr. Cheney has the unadulterated gall to come before the country and tell us that it's all someone else's fault. You said there was no doubt Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction. You said we would be greeted as liberators. You said the Iraq insurgency was in the last throes back in 2005. And you said that after our intervention, extremists would have to, quote, rethink their strategy of jihad. Now, with almost $1 trillion spent there, with 4,500 American lives lost there, what do you say to those who say you were so wrong about so much at the expense of so many?
No, I just fundamentally disagree, Megan.
I actually have the endorsement of former Vice President Dick Cheney.
Cheney's the guy who told those guys to lie in the first place, you moron!
Ambassador Wilson wrote an op-ed titled, "What I Didn't Find in Africa," that exposed Vice President Cheney's use of false information to sell us a war in Iraq. A week after Wilson's op-ed was published, his wife, Valerie Plame, was outed as a covert CIA agent.
And all we did was out a CIA agent.
The criminal proclivity, power grab mentality of Dick Cheney.
And they twisted that intelligence.
I did not believe what Dick Cheney had to say. I thought that they were lying.
Vice President Dick Cheney accidentally shot a man.
Vice President Cheney's been the most dangerous vice president we've had probably in American history.
I actually have the endorsement of former Vice President Dick Cheney.